On behalf of the Spina Bifida Association staff, welcome to the Spina Bifida Association's Community Information Session, Establishing Healthy Habits for Healthy Living. My name is Judy Thibodeau, a member of SBA staff, and I and my colleague, Juanita Panlander, will be with you for tonight's presentation. This session will be presented by Dan McCoy, who is a member of the University of Pennsylvania's Medical Center Spina Bifida Clinic staff. Dan was born with spina bifida and hydrocephalus. In 2014, he competed with Team USA's Paralympic sled hockey team, where he won a gold medal. Through his training, Dan developed a new passion for fitness and nutrition by helping individuals with and without disabilities lead healthier lives through diet and exercise. Dan is a certified personal trainer, and in his free time, he enjoys lifting weights, fishing, hand cycling, and playing sled hockey with the Pittsburgh Mighty Penguins sled hockey organization. And he is the captain and assistant coach. Welcome, Dan McCoy.
All right, sounds good. So first off, hello. I want to thank everybody for being here today, specifically the Spina Bifida Association, for inviting me to speak with you all today. So today we're going to be talking about what is your why and living with purpose, discipline, and consistency. Okay, so I was born with bilomeningeal spina bifida, obviously, L3-4, and hydrocephalus. Early on, I realized I had a passion for hockey, kind of growing up, specifically sled hockey. And it was really easy for me to kind of stay motivated and active because the environment that I was in, I always saw my parents, my brother, and family members working really hard for things they wanted to achieve, and they always kind of gave me the outlet and the gateway to go for what I wanted to achieve. And they told me it was going to be hard, but never said that I couldn't or shouldn't do something just because it was kind of difficult. So, like I said, it was easy to stay motivated because I really enjoyed what I was working toward, and never really saw it as hard work that was insurmountable or anything. And I always saw it as a way to achieve my goals. And once I started lifting weights, really, I saw fitness as a way to kind of like see how I could appreciate what my body could do, and saw what my body couldn't do. For example, I can't deadlift or squat with a barbell or dumbbells or anything without having back support. But what I could do is bench press, do push-ups, play sled hockey, pull-ups, that kind of thing. So that's one of the things I love about adaptive sports is there is something that we all can't do, but what adaptive sports I think focuses on is it levels the playing field a little bit and kind of shows us what we can do, and kind of brings us all together in competition and pushing through something really difficult in kind of a team atmosphere. So we can focus on our strengths in those while competing and having fun with people in the same or similar situations. And this isn't to say that we should really never try to improve on our weaknesses, but we should focus on how we can improve on the areas of our lives in things that we can kind of control, like your fitness, your diet, your sleep, movement, what you put in your brain, what you put in your body, that kind of thing. So, and if you're anything like me, you have trouble sleeping. So sleep is something I've been trying to work on here in 2026. Getting into hockey was one of those things that really kind of forced me to focus on my, how I was treating my body, really. So let's see. Okay, so what is your why? So now that you have a little bit of background on my life, let's shift today to why we are focusing on why. So what is your why is more of a deeper question than really simply wanting to feel better or look better, building bigger muscles or stronger abs or anything physical, really. The physical really plays on the mental, and the mental plays on the physical. So they kind of go hand in hand. And we want to think about the physical and the mental aspects of finding what really makes something worth achieving. So why do we do the things that we do? So why do we do the things that we do? And, have you ever asked yourself that? Like, why do you do or don't do certain tasks? To fit in, to achieve confidence, to feel more confident, to feel better about yourself, to get stronger. The main one I've noticed is just so we can kind of fit in. So living with spina bifida can be challenging, but living life is a challenge, right? So I always have grown up, being told and really kind of leaned into this thought process myself. I don't want to be a victim of spina bifida. I want to see what spina bifida can help me achieve in life. So it's a daily challenge to stay physically and mentally motivated and strong, but I think that's kind of part of the fun of being alive, really. So having spina bifida just kind of adds to the excitement and, challenge of, figuring out what my body can and can't do, especially as you get older, because, everyone's going to get older. Nobody beats age, right? We're all going to, pass away at some point, but it's how you live your life and how you challenge yourself and push through adversity and things that really makes life kind of worth living. And two of the best ways to do it, two really the only ways to do it, are discipline and consistency. So you can't improve your mental and physical strength without discipline and consistency. So discipline, setting and meeting goals, and consistency is following a plan to achieve those goals. Okay, so let's see. Let's see. Okay, so help is on the way. Have we ever wanted to have just like a massive help button that we can click whenever we want? I know I definitely have, especially the last few years. And if you know anything about me, like was mentioned, like Judy mentioned, I went to the Paralympics in 2014, and that was not easy by any stretch of the imagination, but it was something I was very familiar with starting in sled hockey from a young age. And, that was all I knew growing up was sled hockey, going to the gym when I started exercising at 14 years old in the gym. And that was all I focused on. I got through school, graduated early from high school, and then graduated from college after winning a gold medal. But the stuff outside of hockey and training was, something I really needed help with. And if you're anything like me, this can be a particular struggle that you might feel like you're inferior or you're less than, or, you just don't want to have to deal with, and you want to look for somebody else to kind of help you out. The hardest or harder way to kind of look at it, and the more, I guess, beneficial way and the more rewarding way is to try to figure out how to do something on your own and then ask for help. So, for example, I would try to solve math problems on my own growing up, or physical problems like going up a hill or going upstairs when I was really young. I would try to do it myself first. And if you're anything like me, you're a really stubborn person, you don't like asking for help. So I was the last person to ask for help out of anybody I knew. And I kind of, took that to an extreme, and my parents would see that I really needed help with something and sometimes jumped in, and a few times they would kind of do it for me, and especially when I was very young. And as I got older, I would kind of try to do things on my own. And it was really more of like a conversation of, okay, I know this, I know you guys did this certain thing for me in terms of talking to my teachers or professors or whatever, for different school things, but, let me advocate for myself and kind of tell them what I need, and let me navigate my high school and my college campus, on my own, and see if I can come up with my own way to do it. I've always found that when you come up with your own way to do it, no matter how hard it is, especially if it's a difficult thing, that's the more rewarding path. And the harder part for me wasn't like I've mentioned, wasn't the physical stuff. It was the mental aspect of pushing through, not wanting to do something. Something as little as transferring out of the chair might seem little to someone else, but it might be everything for another individual. And I know a lot of folks that I see as a personal trainer in the spina bifida clinic here in Pittsburgh, is a lot of people just want to get stronger transferring out of their manual chairs or power chairs. And all that is your chest, your shoulders, and your triceps, and your forearms and wrists. Just getting stronger, kind of pushing out and over, however you transfer, either forward or the side to side. And, if you can, improving your core strength as well. But some folks, that's the main goal, and that's great. That's awesome, because that gives you more independence, right? When we challenge ourselves enough, we begin to build up mental and physical bank, really, that you can withdraw whenever you need to, and you can kind of look back on and say, okay, for me, for example, I've been fishing, I've been deep sea fishing before, on a boat with no kind of support or anything, and I've reeled in big salmon and halibut and that kind of thing. I can look back on that and say, okay, I'm dealing with that. So we're about to get a huge storm, right, throughout the country. Looking forward to that, I can say, okay, I did all these things in like 10-foot swells, 20-foot swells in water, catching fish. I went to the Paralympics, won a gold medal. So spending some time outside shoveling snow in my driveway is nothing compared to that. Now, again, my challenges are not your challenges. So one of those could be very difficult. One of those could be impossible. One of those could be very easy for you. You know, it's all kind of situational and person to person. And for example, this talk for me right now isn't the most comfortable thing for me to do. But, you know, I'm trying to challenge myself and lead by example and, you know, show folks that you got to push past your comfort zone. And when you push past that comfort zone and you break a barrier, you're automatically going to build confidence. And actually, my personal training business that I have, just literally called Dan McCoy Fitness, my tagline is break barriers and build confidence. Because there's no way you can break a barrier in life, a very difficult barrier that you might have thought was insurmountable. There's no way you can break that and not feel confident afterwards. So let's see. Also, what I really like about fitness is no one can do it for you, right? So, for example, like folks can help you stretch out if you physically can't do something. So, for example, I can't move my feet. I can't feel my feet at all with the Milo Meningesil that I have. I don't have calf strength or partial hamstring strength, but so I might need some help like stretching those out, but I can bend my knee and extend my leg and all that kind of thing. And for example, like I mentioned earlier, I really like bench pressing. No one can lift that weight off my chest for me. I got to do it myself. They can help, but if they help too much, then I'm not getting the benefit from that, right? So it's going to be difficult, going to be tough, but you really, you know, fitness and just life, you got to do it yourself with the help of others. You know, the beauty of all this, I think, is the fact that you get to decide how far you take things in life, whether it's in fitness, in sports, school, work, relationships, whatever it is, you get to decide how far you take it. For me, the main thing is I don't want to get to the end of my life and realize I should have done more. I wanted to do more, and I was just too afraid to do it, kind of thing. I don't want to look back and regret something that I didn't do. You know, you hear the phrase, you never regret something that you tried, only the things that you didn't do, or something along those lines. Very true. I might have regretted how I did something, but the fact that I did something, you know, that was beneficial to me later in life, you know, I think I've never regretted something like that. So, okay. Okay. So, 3 keys to strength. It's kind of a loop here. So your mental state leads to your physical well-being, and that can impact your gut health. I like to usually think, at least for me lately, my gut health has impacted my mental state and then my physical well-being, and then kind of vice versa and all that. All right, and it goes in a loop there. So when our mental strength and our clarity improves, we'll want to continue to improve on our physical fitness and vice versa and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of research out there that says our gut health and what we're putting into our bodies, whether it's sugary beverages, whether it's water, you know, alcohol, high fat, fast foods, that kind of thing. If we're putting those kind of things into our body, then it's going to have an impact negatively or positively on our mental health, right? Especially as we get older. You know, there's some spots in kind of like the colon there and the digestive system that we might not be able to feel. And I think that impacts the digestion in our body, the absorption of the nutrients in the foods. So it really is true. There's a thing called the gut-brain axis. And from my experience, and also, like I said in the research, what we eat, what we drink, what we put into our bodies in terms of social media, in terms of the media in general, what we focus on is what we become, right? So we all have stress in our lives. There's no way to avoid stress. And I think one of the things nowadays we need to try to not listen to is people saying, avoid stress at all costs. And here's how to avoid stress. You can't do that, right? You're going to be stressed no matter what. And, you know, it's how you respond to that stress and the strategies that you kind of come up with, whether it's writing things down on a task list, like, you know, 3 to 5 things that you know, I write every day, whether it's workouts, water intake, hitting my protein goals, sleeping for a certain amount of time, getting to bed at a certain time. emailing certain people for my business, or things like that. When you have a set list, that can actually help our executive dysfunction that a lot of us have in terms of goal setting and time management and that kind of thing. So all of this kind of plays in on itself, or in on each other, I guess. But none can, you can't do one without the other two, kind of thing. Okay. So, like I said, get out of your comfort zone. Do all the things, right? Start each day with a morning intention or a morning routine or a morning kind of like reset kind of thing. So how are you going to challenge yourself today? Physically, mentally, and nutritionally. You can also add spiritually. I like to pray every morning, kind of reflect on the day, what I want to get done throughout the day, and realize that what I do throughout the day isn't just about me. I'm kind of second in all of it. It's how I can help other people, live the best lives that they can. You don't even have to be a personal trainer to kind of live like that, right? I truly believe our lives are not about ourselves. Everyone. We're all here for a purpose. We're all here to get the most out of life. We're all here to enjoy life, but it's not like you're going to enjoy every second of life. So, for example, I'm doing a kind of a lifestyle challenge right now with some family members. One of the things is we have to do a workout outside. We all know how cold it is right now, but what is it? I am 44 workouts in. So we do 2 workouts a day. One has to be outside. So right now I'm personally in 44 workouts throughout for this year so far. That seems like a lot. I'm not saying anybody should do that, but for me, that's pushing outside of my comfort zone. And what I do is I walk outside for about 45 minutes with my crutches, and I listen to a podcast or just kind of, usually it's late at night, so I'm probably going to do it after the talk here. But just getting outside your comfort zone. And that could be trying to learn how to do a push-up, or getting better with transfers, or even picking things up off the ground from your wheelchair, or moving your legs in a certain position to get up out of your wheelchair, or getting up out of bed on your own. Hopefully you get the point there. The biggest thing we want to avoid is trying to feel comfortable all the time. Everyone loves comfort, and I would argue if you don't like comfort, you aren't really human. But too much of anything is not a good thing, right? Even fitness, you can get too obsessed with fitness and neglect other parts of your life. With the rapid advancement in technologies and all that kind of thing, life's becoming more and more comfortable in various ways, which again, can have positives and negatives. And at the very least, we're more conditioned than ever to seek comfort in various forms, or what's called escapism, like TV, social media, food, drinks, etc. I know during the lockdowns, I was looking at all the YouTube kind of things, like fitness YouTubes, fishing YouTube videos, and I was going to all the fast food places and whatever, even as a trainer, because I was figuring, okay, we're locked down here, there's no real exercise going on. It wasn't allowed to play sled hockey, and I got very comfortable, very complacent, and again, a little bit of that here and there is not a negative. What is negative, though, is when you let that kind of consume your life and you realize it's not going to kind of improve your life in any way, and you try to seek comfort too much, because even too much comfort is uncomfortable, in a way. So I'm trying to avoid, kind of wasting time, so to speak, with TV, social media, focusing on, food, drinks, that kind of thing, and trying to escape, stress, anxiety, that kind of thing. That's a negative to me. The difficulties are made more difficult by our lack of ability to kind of handle them. And when you face a challenge head on, it's easier to kind of tackle the sooner you face it. And one thing I've been really working on is, like I mentioned, the outdoor workouts that I've been doing. I don't like doing them. It's really cold outside, and I have my crutches, and sometimes my legs get tired, right? But for me, again, not saying anyone has to do this, but for me, when I think I don't want to do something, that is the immediate moment I need to do that thing. So for example, if you're okay with walking outside, or fitness aspects, if you're okay with those, then you shift to maybe communication. So if you're uncomfortable sending emails to folks, or getting something done for work or for school, or a family member, anything like that, something more, as I call it, cerebral, that takes kind of some more mental capacity and strength. If that's more difficult for you, then maybe that's kind of life's way of telling you that you need to kind of focus on that a little more and be uncomfortable with it for a while. Be uncomfortable, be bad at it for a while. And then, as you practice it more and more, you start realizing, okay, here's what I do well with it. Here's what I don't do well with it. Here's areas I can improve, and you seek out the help of others around you. Like I said earlier, I'm not completely against help, just starting to do things first on your own and then kind of working from there. But you seek the help of others, kind of run them through your kind of process. So, for example, making a PowerPoint like this. I had a couple people kind of run through my PowerPoint. They know kind of how I like to speak, my thought process, and all this. And they kind of walked me through whether it made sense, certain things that I wanted to talk about in the notes and all that. So asking for help as well, but try it on your own first and get out of your comfort zone. So my parents always said growing up this phrase, pay now or pay later. It's really about instant gratification. So delaying gratification, we all want gratification at some point, but delaying it as long as possible, and really building up that mental resiliency to push through things is what makes the goal all that more sweeter, and all that more enjoyable and fulfilling, really. And this I got to experience again from at a young age, at 20 years old. From when I started playing sled hockey, got into sled at first at 4 years old, got the dream of being in the Paralympics at 8 years old. And so for those real 12 years of playing hockey, the competitive years, that was my delayed gratification. That was my pay now or pay later. If I wasn't doing something every day, whether it was getting on the ice, watching hockey, talking to my dad and my brother about hockey plays, hockey drills that we were doing when I would get my own ice time, getting on the ice with my team, whether it was the Mighty Penguins here in Pittsburgh or the national team at the time. If it wasn't something like that, then I know I wouldn't have been able to achieve that goal if I wasn't doing something like that every day. All right, so again, it's the more difficult path, but in most situations, the more difficult path, as long as it's doable, right? It can't be impossible. But as long as it's doable, if it's difficult, you're going to have a much sweeter reward, and it's going to be more fulfilling in the end. All right, so one of the questions I do like to ask myself throughout the day is, or I guess at night, how will I challenge myself today? Or how did I challenge myself today? Or how will I? And how did what I challenged myself with help me achieve my long-term goals physically, mentally, and nutritionally and spiritually, that kind of thing. Okay? So now this question at night can be pretty uncomfortable. So let's see. Yeah, each nighttime reflection. So each day having a morning reflection of what you want to do throughout the day. Nighttime reflections, again, can be most uncomfortable because you get to really evaluate, did I do what I said I was going to do throughout the day? And being an adult, your word is your bond. So, and that's something I've been trying to work on, myself. I'm 32 years old in a couple days here, but, doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. That's one of those things that we have to wrestle with ourselves first. So, you end the day every day with a nighttime reflection. Did my actions today push me closer to being more disciplined and consistent in improving my physical and mental well-being? What did I do well? What can I do better tomorrow? So it's not what did I do well, what did I do terrible at, or what did I suck at today, or what was I really bad at, and beat yourself up and all that kind of thing. It's what did I do well, and from what I did well, what could I possibly do better tomorrow? Okay, so for example, like if you got some exercise today, but it wasn't quite as long as you wanted to get, or you went to the gym, you lifted some weights, like you did some dumbbells, you did bicep curls, lateral raises, overhead presses, but you didn't do a bench press, or if you can use your legs, you didn't do a leg press or leg extension. Maybe that's something you can work on tomorrow. So in that case, you did what mostly what you wanted to do, but you left some in the tank to kind of do tomorrow. And that's when, for example, today, if today was like a push day, for example, like your chest, shoulders, triceps, and I include my quads in that as well. If you did everything but the quads, then realize, okay, I didn't quite do everything I wanted to do today, but that's something I can work on for tomorrow, or, in a couple days when the next push day comes around. Okay, so if I know I'm not doing something that I should be doing, or I need to reevaluate how I'm doing something, I need to be honest with myself and ask, am I doing everything I can to achieve this goal? If the answer is no, then I need to find a way to make it work better in my favor, right? So again, as I mentioned, if I did everything I could do to move my closer to my goals, then I can really lay my head down at night and be completely comfortable with what I achieved throughout that day, and realize even if things didn't go my way, I did everything I could to kind of get me one step closer there. Okay, so what is your why? With all this in mind, what is your why? What goals do you have for yourself? And I want you guys to think about that right now. What goals do you have for yourself that make your life worth living? Because I think we all have a purpose. I know we all have a purpose in life. You wouldn't be alive if you didn't have some sort of purpose, whether it was to help one person, help 1,000 people, or 10 people, or whatever it could be. We were all meant to do great things in our own way, and that's kind of one of the beauties of life. Is greatness doesn't just mean, winning a gold medal or Stanley Cup or, the NBA championships or NFL, championship, whatever those are. It doesn't always have to do with sports or achievements, right? It's pushing yourself every day to live life to your fullest potential. And I'm not an expert on, all that kind of stuff in terms of like how do you know when you reach your fullest potential, but it's one of those things you feel like in your heart. Really, it sounds cheesy, but you feel that you're doing everything you can do. And again, we all have a purpose in life, and I truly see spina bifida as a blessing, right? It's difficult. It can be very tough, and there's things that kind of happen, and we do sometimes tend to age a little quicker, right? Especially if you're dealing with some like arthritis or muscles that aren't innervated, but you still have to kind of move your body, where your body kind of figures out different ways to adapt. We're all gonna pass away at some point, but and we might have all had friends who have passed away from certain things, whether it's spina bifida or not, or just family members that have kind of passed on. But again, for me, it sounds kind of deep, but I don't want to get to the end of my life and realize I left something on the table. And a lot of that is, how am I helping people today through my actions, right? So big changes, are only achieved through small actions every day. We can't tackle massive goals, especially with executive dysfunction that some of us might have, without breaking those big goals up into smaller goals. And those could be, gaining muscle, again, physical strength, improving our muscle mass, decreasing our fat mass, improving water intake, sleep, health, mental health, that kind of thing. None of that is ever achieved in one day. So it starts with knowing that you have a purpose, knowing that you are meant to be alive to help people, right? And then help yourself second. And you're meant to do great things, and believe in yourself. Now, from all of this, I want you to really think, do you believe in yourself? Right? So if we don't believe in ourselves right now, that's maybe where we want to first start. Belief sometimes doesn't happen until we make a goal, and then we start working toward that goal because we want to believe in ourselves, right? With the kind of the sled hockey goal, so getting to the gold medal, I always knew I wanted to get to that. I just didn't know how to do it, and that's where the support from family and friends kind of came in. Going through college, that was something I didn't believe I could do. So I'd have a lot of help from friends in college, family members kind of looking over my papers and helping me study, that kind of thing. And getting a master's degree. I have a master's degree in strength and conditioning. So you see my gym back here. I have like some different pieces of equipment. This is kind of the gym that I work out at my house. I believed that I wanted to learn the material, but the school part of it, the learning kind of aspect, as I'm sure you can understand with executive dysfunction folks, that was what kind of gave me anxiety. But I had to push through and realize that what I'm learning in these classes and what I'm doing is going to benefit not only myself, but is going to be a kind of a thank you to my family for supporting me, and also benefit those around me in terms of who I coach on the ice in hockey and in the gym, that kind of thing. And I don't know if you guys have heard the phrase, what's the best way to lead is by example. And leading by example isn't the best way to lead, it's the only way to lead. Most folks don't really take to someone just saying something without living it, right? And that's what I have to really challenge myself with every day. Like, I got the gold medal at this point, it was 12 years ago, almost 12 years ago. It would be 12 years in March. I can't just rest on that, right? I rested on that for a few years, and honestly, that's kind of where my personal anxiety and depression kind of came from, where I kind of told myself, okay, I achieved this big dream. I got this goal after 12 to 16 years of trying, depending on when you want to think or when you want to say I started with the goal. Um, now what kind of thing? And I was in a pretty dark place for a while, and I'm still trying to get out of it and still trying to, tell myself that, this is my purpose, what I'm doing right now to help people, see their disability, specifically spina bifida, as a blessing, and realize there are going to be burdens, there are going to be challenges, but everyone has those. And really see it as a way to challenge yourself and show the world that, you have purpose, right? So that's what I've been trying to tell myself, but there are plenty of days where I don't want to go work out myself, even in here. For as cool as this gym is, that, it's a huge blessing. It's in my backyard. And the shed was already here, so I don't want anyone thinking I built the shed myself. I just put the equipment in, and maybe the drywall. But there are plenty of days where I don't even want to, work out myself, but I have to kind of get out of myself, get out of my brain and say, okay, I don't want to do this. That's the time when I need to do it. This is the time I need to do it because I don't want to do it, but I know it's going to benefit not only my own physical health and kind of keep me out of the hospital, keep my, my fat mass low, help my sleep, help my mental health, maybe most of all, but also help those around me because they see my actions and they might want to replicate it in their own way and maybe lead a healthier lives for themselves. So, like I said, big challenges only happen through small goals, daily actions. So with that, the last questions I want everybody to think is, do I believe in myself today? If not, how can I start believing in myself? And with that, how can I help others with my goals? And if you really kind of think about those questions and really, take those to heart, really. And I always say I'm my toughest critic, and I kind of like that in the way that if I'm not my toughest critic, I know others will be my toughest critic. So if I'm tough on myself within reason, right? You don't want to just berate yourself and say, you're worthless or useless or, you'll never be able to do anything anymore. That doesn't help either. But it goes back to my previous questions of examining my day every night and saying, did I do what I needed to do throughout the day? If I can really answer that, did I help others with their goals throughout the day? And did what I did to achieve my goals, did that help someone else throughout the day? That's only going to give you more purpose and fulfillment in life. Because you'll gain a community around you, like the Spina Bifida community. You'll gain a community of like-minded people that want to challenge themselves and reach their potential every day, whatever it is. And you'll gain confidence and you'll build self-esteem through that, through your community, through your friends, and even people you're competing with and against, right? You'll challenge them to be better versions of themselves and really live to their true potential, and you'll help yourself along the way. So hopefully all of that made sense. We're getting at 35 minutes here, but that's kind of all I have for you guys. So if anyone would like to, talk about this further, that's all I have for you today. But if you'd like to talk about it further, here's my information. I'm just at Dan McCoy Fitness on Instagram and Facebook. And it'd be really cool to hit me up in the DMs and, tell me what your why is in life. And it doesn't even have to be fitness. Although I do believe fitness and, like I said, nutrition and all that plays a role in whatever we want to achieve in life. Just let me know what your why for, why you think, you're here on this earth, maybe. Send me an email. Also, if you, want to get into some sort of training or anything, like I said, I do have my own business that I train folks on Zoom or in person. If I know you pretty well or you're at one of the gyms that I train at, I'll train with you in person. But if I'm training with you on Zoom or just doing weekly check-ins, I'm actually working out with you. So with all that, I want to thank you guys again today for joining me. And thank you again to the Spina Bifida Association for inviting me to speak to y'all. So go out and find your why. Thanks.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you very much for that. Okay, ready for some questions?
Yes.
Very good. Okay. So what type of exercises do you recommend for someone that plays sled hockey or wheelchair tennis when you go to the gym?
So sled hockey and wheelchair tennis, while they use similar muscles, they use them in different ways. So sled hockey, just because that's my sport here, I actually have a ski erg to the right here. So that machine right there has like these little handles right here. And I have a weight bench right here that kind of goes that way. It's like there's like a little red kind of little dot here in the corner right there. That's a weight bench that I actually sit on, and I can pretend like I'm in my sled and I'm pulling down like this. That's my favorite form of cardio. And now I realize not everyone or most people aren't going to have that in their gyms or at their disposal. So if you have like an arm bike that you can get on, at a gym like Planet Fitness or LA Fitness or something like that, any of like the Globo gyms that I call them, if you can get on those, that's a great form of cardio. Arm bikes, stationary arm bikes, you kind of sit in those. A lot of them actually have the ability, you can pull the seat out. So if you have a wheelchair, you can just slide, you can roll right up to it and you can use those. But when you're training with weights, like you see the weights around me here, for sled hockey, I would always recommend shoulders first, shoulders and back and core. So shoulders, because, when you're doing this, it's a lot of shoulder work. And if you're using a manual chair, you need your shoulders to move. So you want to make those as healthy as possible. I'm going to make sure those are as healthy as possible with your rotator cuff. So I always start every workout with external rotations with the resistance band, actually like this. So this is a latex-free resistance band. So if you have latex allergies, definitely find a latex-free band. But I'm doing an exercise like this. So this works the rotator cuff muscles, kind of the top rotator cuff muscles. And then you can also go in, if you tie it off to like a chair leg or a table leg or a pole or something like that, you can go in. That works both types of the rotator cuff, both parts. I also do these. These are, I call them goalposts. So this works your rotator cuff and your shoulder strength, or shoulder mobility, I should say. Bench pressing definitely helps with shooting and passing, because one of the actions of the chest is to kind of move the arm medially, kind of past midline there. Overhead pressing, rows, so rowing machines, whether it's the Concept 2 kind of fan rowing machine or like rowing machines with weights attached to it or resistance bands. Those are really good for sled hockey as well. Bodyweight exercises like push-ups, pull-ups, squats, if you can do squats. Most of the time, folks don't usually like bodyweight exercises. And then really for pushing a wheelchair, like in tennis, it's really going to be your chest, shoulders, triceps, and your core, really. So.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you. All right. And I think this is okay. So what are exercises that you can do from a wheelchair? And I think this is probably like a longish. Like I'm guessing there's a few.
Oh yeah. So I mean there are, but it's actually more simple than most people might think. So a lot of it does depend on your mobility in terms of if you can, like if you're in your wheelchair and you can reach over and grab a dumbbell off the rack here. So got these dumbbells here. So pretend I'm in my wheelchair. Okay, we're sitting here. I got dumbbells, bicep curls. Okay, lateral raises out to the side. Okay, so bicep curls, obviously, they're going to work the biceps. Lateral raises are going to work the lateral head or the outside head of the shoulder. Front raises are going to work the anterior or the front head of the shoulder. And then overhead is kind of, whether your elbows are out here, it's going to work both the medial and the anterior, or the front and the side. Triceps when you're pushing up like that, and a little bit of your rotator cuff to kind of push. And then if you're kind of leaning forward like this, you can do tricep kickbacks like that. If you really can lean forward very far, you can do rows like that. Okay, so a lot of different things you can do. There are some folks that like to do kind of like chest pressing in their chair. Now, if you can, it does put a lot of pressure on the back, because even though you're sitting in your chair, your back is kind of open. It's not really being supported by the backrest. It's more like your upper back. It's not really your core. So you really have to have kind of a strong core for it. But you can do some chest pressing as well. And honestly, a lot of the workouts that I do from this literal same position they're all with dumbbells, really. Especially the ones that when I'm coaching folks. Other than that, I would recommend folks, if you can, get into a gym and practice transferring on different surfaces, different machines. Because again, whether we like it or not, life is not made for us, right? Life really isn't made for anyone. But you could argue it's made for some folks more than others. I choose to kind of just see it as it's not made for anyone. We have to adapt to it. We have to adapt to life. And I choose to kind of not see myself as a victim of life, but rather life is a way of challenging myself to get the most out of it. So just finding different ways to adapt to it. As long as you're doing these exercises with proper form and safe form, dumbbells are definitely a way to go, and resistance bands. And I might have mentioned earlier, alluded to it at least, what I usually talk to folks at the adult spina bifida clinic about is literally dumbbells and resistance bands for the most part. Or if you started getting into your fitness journey in the lockdowns, you could have been using, cans of soup or cast iron pans or bags of flour or gallon jugs, those kind of things, or cartons of milk. And I love to joke around. One of my favorite jokes, and it's like a dad joke. I'm not a dad, but one of my favorite things is to say, you grab a big jug like this, right? This is a 64-ounce water jug. So you take a drink of it, put it down. You can do a bicep curl, and it's lighter. It gets lighter every time you take a drink. So it's things like that, right? So it doesn't have to be the stereotypical like gym atmosphere, although that's my favorite. Obviously, I'm in a gym right now, or a self-proclaimed gym. For me, that's my favorite. But if you like working out at home and you can stay consistent with it, like I said earlier, you can be disciplined and consistent with it. Then nothing wrong with working out in your home and just using household appliances. I know a lot of folks during the lockdowns got pets, and my dog was 3 pounds when I got him. I would use him and just do like little bicep curls with him. And he loved it. And now he just he cuddles everywhere because I was doing that so much with him. So
Very cool. All right. Back to sled hockey.
yeah.
What was your biggest challenge when you were playing sled hockey?
The mental aspect of it. I loved the physical aspect of it so much, hence why I'm a trainer. The mental aspect of the competitiveness, but also I made the national team at 16 years old. Most folks were at the time, it was kind of an older team at the time. They were in their 20s or 30s. The oldest player at the time was 35. I honestly think he was a captain in Sochi. So the mental aspect of it, and realizing I had to grow up very quickly, from a 16-year-old being in a locker room with a 20, 30-year-old guys, grew up very quickly and realized that, hey, this isn't going to be given to me. Everyone skated multiple times a week on the ice. They got their own ice time or skated with their club teams, whatever. Everyone was in the gym too. So it was really the mental aspect of, okay, I screwed up in a certain play or a drill, or I may have cost us a goal in a game or something like that. But if I were to crumble right now, that's not only going to hurt the team, or that's not only going to hurt myself, it's going to hurt the team, right? So I can't do that. So it's just that constant process of, I'm here for a reason. I know I'm good enough to be here. I need to show the coaches that I know I'm good enough to be here and that they chose me for the right reason, kind of thing. So it was all mental. And before the gold medal game, I had to talk to the coach, and I was one of the bubble players, so to speak, in the Paralympics. And I had to talk to the coach before the gold medal game because I was a healthy scratch for the semifinal game. And I said, hey, coach, I know everyone is in the same position, but my 70-something-year-old grandfather's here, from Washington State. My brother took 3 days off of med school to be here. My parents spent thousands of dollars to get here, and 2 of my friends from high school are here. So could I please play in the gold medal game? It was like something along those lines. So again, wasn't advocating because of a disability, but I was advocating for myself and kind of speaking up for myself and trying to find my voice because it was something I really wanted to do, and I knew I had the skill to do it. So if you ask, and that actually is another point, if you ask for something, but you don't have the ability or the skill to do it, that's going to come across in whoever you're asking that thing to, right? They're going to know that, you didn't put in the work to do it, whether it's in a sport, to your parents, teacher, professor, or your boss in a job. If you ask your boss for a raise and they know, like, hey, you've missed this many days, or you've been late this many times, but hey, could I still have a raise, or could I have a promotion? They're not going to give it to you, right? So you have to be honest with yourself again and realize, you can't be upset with the work, or you can't be upset with the outcome you didn't get by the work you didn't do. So,
Dan, what does it mean to be a bubble player?
So it's one of those players that like I was a healthy scratch for a couple games. So I played 3 of the 5 games in the Paralympics.
Okay.
So yeah, I
Okay,
played the
so
games that counted though. So
um, what home exercises can I do for my legs if I am not physically able to use my legs?
so if you're not physically able, so like I'm guessing it's more of like a you're not actively able to kind of like extend your leg out like that kind of thing. Um, Passive stretching, so having like a a friend, a family member, significant other, or a personal trainer or physical therapist or an occupational therapist, stretching out your legs. So I know a lot of times for me, I have difficulty actually sitting on my knees. My quads feel like they're going to snap out of my legs because my quads are so tight, because that's kind of the main muscle group in my legs that's innervated. And like I said, I have partial hamstring innervation, but I constantly am having to do these to stretch out my quads. And even again, challenging myself, trying to get on my knees and trying to lean down and sit as far as I can within reason to really stretch that muscle. My quads get, or my hips get pretty tight. So I do this thing called a figure 4 stretch where it's you're sitting like this, okay, and you apply a little bit of pressure on your knee, you're sitting straight up like that. And if you can't do that, like I just did, move your leg actively. It's called active when you move a muscle on your own volition. Passively is when you kind of pick it up or have someone move it for you. So just doing this kind of thing, even if you can't feel your leg muscle or your hip muscles, it's always a good idea to stretch them out. Okay, so stretches like this. Okay, or what you could do is, I don't have it set up properly right now, but you get a resistance band, you tie it around your, see if I can, that's not gonna really fit, but you tie it around your ankles here, the back of your ankles. You can hold it up here and then apply a little bit of pressure and really kind of resist your legs going down. And then vice versa, you can tie it out in front of you and like on a chair leg or table leg, or have someone hold it. And you try to bring your leg out from straight to bending in. So that will work from straight to bending in, will work hamstrings, pushing bent knee, the straight will work the quads. Okay, so those are just a couple exercises that I like to do if I'm not in a gym or I don't have access for like a leg machine or anything like that. Um, I'll do some of those. And I guess one of the frustrating parts of fitness, sometimes people don't like, is it's very repetitive. But life's all about reps. Life is repetitious, right? So the better you get at the reps, the stronger you're going to get.
Dan, if we could include a source for proper resistance bands when we send out this recording, if you'll give it to us.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually like to use there's 2 brands. I mean, there's a lot of brands out there. You just search non-latex resistance bands on Amazon, or when you're at Walmart or Dick's Sporting Goods or any of your sporting goods stores. Just you make sure it says non-latex resistance bands, just to be safe, even if you've never shown any symptoms of a latex allergy. Always want to be safe with spina bifida. So latex-free resistance bands on Amazon. I like using Stark Tape or TheraBand. There's also, I can't remember the brand exactly. I just found them recently. Haven't gotten a pair yet, but there's like a nylon type resistance band that's not really any sort of latex or anything, or rubber. It's really just kind of like a thread kind of thing that you can kind of pull apart. But I'll send those along as I find them after this.
Awesome. All right. Well, we do have a few more questions that people submitted in advance, so
Okay.
I'll hopefully we can get through them.
Yeah.
Here's a good one. What do you do when you have struggled your whole life with weight? How do you keep a healthy lifestyle when others around you are not in the same mindset?
So believe it or not, growing up, I mean, I'll just be honest. Growing up, I had no issue with my weight or mental health, really. I was always doing something with hockey. As soon as I got that gold medal, though, I will tell you straight up honestly, I gained 35 pounds of fat.
Oh,
And I lost a lot of muscle because I was in college, right? I had a gold medal and I was in college. So I was thinking like, oh my gosh, I did it. I'm going to enjoy college a little bit. Now, I didn't go crazy in college, but I had a lot of pizza. Really liked eating pizza because it was one of those things I couldn't have all the time. So it sounds wild to say, and some people might not believe me, but I know exactly what it's like to gain a ton of weight and feel like you're stuck. and you don't know how to kind of improve. This is where, like, if you don't have the background that I have, start small, right? Get resistance bands, do chest presses, wrap them under your arms, chest presses, overhead presses, use household appliances. Just start doing something like this, right? With any sort of weight. And I promise you, as long as you are willing to be bad at it first, be bad at something first, and willing to improve and know that, again, it's going to sound cheesy, but today is the weakest you're ever going to be, whether it's physical and or mental. You're going to be able to get stronger mentally and physically every day if you just keep pushing. So the way I kind of do it is, start with something small. Like I said, push-ups, overhead, lateral raises, bicep curls, things like that. And realize that, every action that you push through that is difficult makes you stronger mentally and physically, right? And also realize everyone's going through struggles. So if you're afraid to get into the gym, or you're afraid to buy, even I know folks that are afraid to even buy dumbbells or resistance bands at the store if they feel like they're a little bit overweight, because they feel like they're not worthy of it, or they feel like everyone around them is judging them for them being overweight and trying to buy dumbbells or resistance bands. They get weird looks or whatever. You can't care what people think, and I'm the first to say I care a lot what people think, and that's something I'm really trying to work on. And it's not in a cocky way, but you really have to realize they don't have your life and you don't have theirs. So, and if you don't know the person, no harm, no foul. Like, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what they think. As long as you know you're doing it for the right reasons and you're doing it for your health, right? That's first and foremost. You're doing it for your health so you can be around a long time and improve your mental health. And I promise you, the harder you struggle with it, as long as you keep going, you're going to be stronger mentally and physically on the other side. And don't give yourself a timeline if that's not something you're into. Now, like I said, me growing up, I always had timelines of like, okay, I have to make the national team at this point, go to the Paralympics at this point, all that kind of stuff. If you're just doing this to get healthier, there's no timeline. You can't screw it up. Just keep pushing, be consistent with it. And I think I mentioned earlier, one of my favorite things of fitness, consistency for me is 3 days a week. So you could do 2 days of lifting, 1 day of cardio, or like even 1 day of just stretching, right? Totally fine. That's better for you than nothing, right? Something's better than nothing. So give yourself some grace, give yourself some, mercy, in what you're feeling. Don't feel like you're a failure just because, you gained a little bit of weight, but also be a little tough on yourself and say like, hey, I'm in this position because of certain things that I may have done. Some things could have been out of your control, right? But what you put in your body, for the most part, is in your control, whether it's high sugar beverages, high sugar foods, being intentional about your sleep, and things like that. The struggle is worth it. So,
No, I'm so motivated. Thank you. So here, a couple more questions.
yes.
I'm mostly sedentary, and where I live, we get long and cold winters with lots of snow and ice. I'm having trouble getting rid of belly fat and need suggestions.
Okay, so this one's a little more complicated with spina bifida. And I'll tell you why in a second, but it's not impossible. So like I said, I have a 64 ounce jug. If I fill this up twice, it's a full gallon. Not saying we need to drink a full gallon a day for everybody, because we might have kidney issues and, filtration issues and stuff. So not saying that or anything, and I'm not a dietitian or any of that. So don't take this as medical advice that you have to do. But focusing on your protein, if your kidneys are in good function, protein helps build muscle mass. Limiting sugar intake, so processed sugar intake. Fruits and vegetables have sugar, and obviously if you have a latex allergy, and if you don't know, some foods do have like a latex derivative in them, like kiwi, strawberries, that kind of thing. Bananas have a little bit of like a latex derivative, so just be aware of that. But eating whole foods like fruits, veggies, lean proteins, carbs like rice, grains, that kind of thing, those could be healthy for you, as long as you can kind of mix all of that in with a healthy lifestyle in terms of strength training, resistance training. So for me right now, and again, not for everybody, I try to get at least 1 gram per pound of goal body weight. So if you are 100 pounds, right, try to get 100 grams of protein per day. Now, that might seem like a lot for people. So I would say at least 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of body weight. So if you're 100 pounds, 70 grams of protein to 100 grams of protein per day, and then have at least half your body weight, or you could even go start with half your goal body weight in water intake, right? Just plain old 0-calorie water intake. You can add some like 0-calorie sweeteners and all that kind of thing, or like flavorings, whatever you want to do. But try to limit the sugar beverages, and go for protein and fiber. So your fibrous foods like your veggies, and for those, and should be well on your way.
Are there specific programs or virtual apps that are available to people with spina bifida that you would recommend for exercise?
I don't know virtual apps. I mean, I'll take a chance to just plug my own thing. I do literally on Zoom. I do workouts with people as well from this location exactly. So I'm always a resource, and you can reach out to me on my email there. I know NCPAD, NCH. I know they have some stuff. I haven't checked their stuff in a while, but I know they have some things, not necessarily for spina bifida, but just kind of people with disabilities in general. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was just going to say NCPAD, and if you write to me, I can send you more information. But yeah, if you just look it up, I believe those are the letters, and I think it's .org. So you might want to check that out. And then finally, and here's a big question: how do you deal with anxiety and depression or mental health in general?
So all of this is pretty much how to do it, or how I've found best to do it. And like I said, it's not and you're done. It's a difficult process. But again, if you really focus on this every day and make it a goal that this is what I want to get through, or enjoy what you're doing. So for me, I thoroughly enjoy lifting weights and getting stronger, not just getting bigger muscles or anything, because I'm not the biggest guy ever. But if you thoroughly enjoy what you're doing, there's no way that your anxiety and depression won't subside. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to go away completely, because you wouldn't be a human if you didn't have a little bit of anxiety. But some anxiety is good. It's telling you that you're not doing something that you should be doing in a way, right? So if you have anxiety about going to the gym, that's a good thing, right? Or getting dumbbells and doing a workout at home, that's a good thing, right? That's telling you that thing, you care about it enough somewhere in your brain that you know that you need to try to struggle at, be bad at, and improve on.
Well, thank you so much. That's been amazing. Really appreciate it. And I'm going to turn it over to Judy now. And
Thank you, Dan, and thank you all who joined us tonight. And stay in touch. Write to us, write to Dan. Share your experiences where you've been successful or have felt a greater challenge. You will receive a recording. You will receive an evaluation. We'd love your feedback on what you'd like to hear more about. And I encourage you to find your why. All of us have to do that. So thanks, Dan, and thanks, Juanita, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.